my budget's been cut by about 60, 70% over the last 9 months. When we were just in ultra high growth mode and we had like $200,000 a month to spend in paid, the stuff that didn't work didn't really matter, right? Because I was meeting my goals. And so we never did deep analysis into the campaigns that were working and not. It was just like, we need more campaigns. Some months we couldn't even spend all the money we had. But then once that program budget gets cut, now we have efficiency goals to meet as well.
I'm very excited to have Jason Widup with me today at Metadata. Jason was one of our early guests on the Demand Gen podcasts. Since then, your career has progressed quite a bit. You're now heading up marketing at Metadata. I would love to hear what got you started in marketing in the first place.
So I had an interesting way into marketing. I started my career more in technology. I grew up in kind of technology household. So my mom was one of the first women in mainframe computing back in the 60s. And so she was like using punch cards and stuff. So I had a kind of a technical, technology friendly upbringing, got into consulting. In my first consulting company, they had an engagement at Expedia for website analytics. And so that was kind of like my entrance into marketing operations. And then I got a job at Tableau. I was VP of marketing operations at Tableau. And I had like a 60 to 70 person team. And that's when I realized like, this is just too big. I'm not really interested. I'm a problem solver. And so Gil and I met, our CEO, in case anybody listening doesn't know. We got along really well, saw eye to eye on a lot of things. There was nobody marketing at Metadata. And so I was like, hey, maybe I can start and kind of see where this goes.
Based on your experience, and since you're talking to a lot of marketers yourself, you're selling to marketers, what are the top skills that a marketer that wants to grow into a CMO exhibits?
Well, I think first and foremost, having capability around data is just so important these days. So when I see a CMO that is not well versed in data, try and operate and just like navigate their environment, it's difficult for them. And so having your own, not just knowing how to read data from a slide, like an insight from a slide, but actually being able to dig in, come up with your own insights, have your own thoughts about that. So data would be the first one, just some capability with data, having a very open mind around being able to be wrong about things. And so that was one of the first things I learned when I started to get the creative and brand side here, is like, I would build something that I really liked myself and I'd put it out there and it would just fall flat. And then I'd had an agency help me, and I would pick the ones where I thought, I was like, that's never going to work. That one's not going to work. And then those were the best performing ones, And so the third skill, I think you have to have, depends on the kind of marketing you want to do, but I think it's good to have your thumb on just things like around pop culture, and just like things that are happening in today's world. And this may not have been as important in B2B marketing before, but I think now with creators in B2B, and we're having more entertainment in B2B marketing, and being able to bring that into either your organic social or even your campaigns, I think is an interesting third skill that I'd say would maybe be important nowadays.
So I'm recapping: adaptable, a pulse on the pop culture, and data-driven.
Yeah.
On the data-driven side, what percentage of your pipeline right now comes from marketing for your sales team?
70 to 75%.
A big chunk. And the metrics that drive your team are mostly tied to pipeline, or there are other things in there that you measure?
Yeah, so we measure a lot of things. Pipeline is our goal. But in fact, we've actually shifted it from early stage pipeline to more middle stage pipeline now. Our sales cycle is short enough where we don't have to do a lot of multi-touch attribution to understand what's working and what's not. We've primarily focused on first touch. And then we've got a lot of product marketing content and other content that we kind of have help us move from that first touch and kind of carry people through to the opportunity.
I probably am looking at our pipeline a little bit different because I'm a founder and I'm also acting CMO right now. And I tend to pay a lot more attention to things that I'm personally looking to influence, such as acceleration of a deal close and returning dead ops out of the graveyard, cross-sell, upsell, and overall being a participant in that full funnel to understand our highest LTV customers to bring them back into the top of the funnel as well. I'm curious if you're starting to measure some of that as well and how you're looking at it.
So right now we're in a close rate optimization kind of project, I would say. And so we're looking at every single stage, the duration between each stage, and we're basically using that to identify, okay, where are we getting held up? In fact, we used that data recently to change our opportunity stages. Do they make more sense? Are they progressing, in a better way? We are always doing things like reviving, dead opportunities, doing some dumpster diving. We don't measure that activity much. We just kind of throw that all into kind of the general demand bucket, and then we'd look at it as like a campaign probably when we're trying to decide what to do. We're also, because my budget got cut, like everybody else's marketing budget got cut, we're, expanding on things like email now. We never really had a solid email program. We didn't even nurture people, at all. And so they just come into the database and like, hey, here you are. And then also I'm starting to work with more partners. I'm trying to do more partnership stuff, trying to leverage partners and other things, other offers that are inexpensive or free, that we can try nowadays. Now that my budget's been cut by about, 60, 70% over the last 9 months, probably.
Wow, that's a big cut. So it's email nurtures, it's partnerships. What are some of the things that are working for you with this trimmed budget right now?
We produce a lot of content. We're pretty well known for our content, but we never took an SEO approach to the content. We wrote it basically like content that we think we want to read, content that we think is interesting, but we didn't take the traditional technical analysis based approach for SEO. So we've got a program right now where we're doing all that upfront work, creating a bunch of briefs and starting to write a bunch of new content. And so we're going to taking that approach with paid ads. When we were just in ultra high growth mode and we had $200,000 a month to spend in paid, the stuff that didn't work didn't really matter, right? Because I was meeting my goals. And so we never really did deep analysis into the campaigns that were working and not. It was just we need more campaigns. Sometimes, some months we couldn't even spend all the money we had, and so, but then once that program budget gets cut, now it's almost an entirely new job. We put new rules in place that are much harsher, on our campaigns. Like, hey, if it doesn't produce a lead within X number of dollars, just shut it off. Spending a lot more time in the analysis and focusing on efficiencies in the data, not just did we get to the lead goal? So now we have efficiency goals to meet as well.
Curious if you have tried something recently that was completely failed also.
Yeah, this is one that surprised me. I thought this thing was going to just take off. I had this idea. I was like, I want to create an offer or a gift that is so unique that people will have to take it. It's a custom hand-carved bobblehead doll of themselves. Tried to find our top 60 accounts, I think. And then I had my team go and find the top, 1 to 2 marketers that we would best sell to in those accounts. Grab their picture off of LinkedIn. And then we had metadata superhero outfit that is just our colors and a logo on the chest and a cape. And then the face looked exactly like the picture, just exactly like it. And so I posted on LinkedIn. I would just tag these people. I'm not connected to them, maybe, I don't know them at all. And the first one worked. So many people commented on it. They got a lot of, excitement. And the person chimed in and was like, okay, you got me. Send me the bobblehead, we'll meet. Sweet. I did another one the week later. It got about half the engagement, because now on LinkedIn, people have seen it before, so they're not as excited. And nobody responded. And I tried a third one, nothing. So we started emailing people with this. I had fun GIF images, of the bobblehead, bobbling, that I put in the email. And no one responded to my email. I was like, what is going on? But I have an entire box here in my office that's got 40 bobbleheads in it that are sitting here 6 months. And I'm like, I can't do anything with these. I just want people to take them because I'm like, don't even take a meeting with me. Just take the bobblehead because I can't give it to anybody else. It has your name on it. It's got your face on it. So yeah, that one was one I thought for sure this is going to work, and it just failed.
You're doing things that are a bit unusual as well. And I'm curious if those things that are a bit unusual, you also strive to measure them, or you just go more with your intuition? Because I see that a lot of things that typically marketers don't measure them, such as brand.
There are several ways, to measure brand. The best way that I like is just looking at branded search terms. And we saw those steadily increase, either on Google or coming to the website. we use anecdotal evidence, like people posting on LinkedIn. We'll just grab it and we'll put it in like a swipe file. We can see like how many impressions there were and things like that. But we like to use some of that qualitative feedback as well to help guide us. It's not, not super measurable, but it does give us guidance on some things. I'm always kind of leaning towards measurement in some way. But then sometimes it's like, we can't measure it, but it still seems like a good thing to do. Let's do it. I won't stop something just because we can't measure it. Because often, honestly, like a lot of the most interesting ideas, because they're new and interesting, we don't have a way to measure them yet. And I don't want to just not do it because we can't measure it. But we got to come up with some way to determine like what kind of impact did this have on our funnel or on leads or whatever we're measuring.
So based on that, does most of your pipeline come from organic and direct?
No, most comes from paid right now. And that's partly because we've done so well with paid that we didn't focus resources on SEO. So I've mentioned, we're just kind of now going through SEO and we didn't do a lot of conversion rate optimization on the site. So now with the budget cuts, things like that, now that is becoming more of a focus. And so I would imagine, I'm hoping probably by mid-year that we're 50-50, on paid versus organic, and then continue to move more organic.
I'm curious on your paid strategy. Is it content that you're creating with your team? How do you go about your strategy on paid?
We go about it quarterly. And what we do is we all right, how much pipeline do we have to drive? How much budget do we have? Then we're looking at the deltas, right? So we're like, okay, we're short, let's say 100 leads or 100 demo requests this month or this quarter. So we take that delta and we're like, okay, we know exactly how we're going to drive. Let's say our goal is 300. We know we're going to drive 200 of these, but we have no idea how we're going to drive this 100. Once we understand that delta, we then line up experiments that we think can close that gap. So it's like, okay, here's the gap. Here's a bunch of usually wild ideas, of things we can try. And then we prioritize those based on what's the likelihood of it working? How hard is it to build? So like bring the low-hanging fruit a little bit higher. And then we start to execute on those projects to try and close that gap.
And since you're generating ads, you have to generate creatives for people that know ads inside out. How do you stand out?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We just try and be more fun. We don't have a big review process, so like I like to tell people, if you've got an idea and you're convicted about it, try it. As long as it's not completely against our style guide or, or like things we would normally do. It's got to be still on brand or with the personality of the brand. But I give the team a lot of license to try new and different things. I really don't want to see copies of other companies' stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, if you find a really interesting idea that somebody else is doing, cool, copy it, but then you got to change it and still make it your own, make it our own some way.